You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Armchair Cricket Podcast, a podcast focusing on Test cricket by armchair critics of the game. Continuing with our World Cup digest, covering latest matches and news. In today's digest, we cover matches 39, 40, and 41. We don't have my regular co host Giri with us today because he's traveling, so it'll just be me. Let's first look at the first match, that is match 39. This was Sri Lanka versus West Indies. So, this was sort of a dead rubber match. So this was a good occasion for both teams to, salvage a bit of pride. Well, both teams played really well, and it was rather a close match. So in this case, it was played at Chester Street, Durham, on the 1st of July. Sri Lanka were asked to bat first by West Indies, who had won the toss. So in this case, Sri Lanka started off well with Karunaratne making 32 and Pereira making 64. Avishka Fernando, the new kid on the block, so to say, made a very good 100, 104 of just 103 balls. And then Mendes made 39, Matthews 26, Thirimanna finished off the innings with a rapid 45, so that Sri Lanka got a very competitive 338 for 6. Now, when it comes to bowling, Cottrell took 1 for 69 of 10, and then Thomas took 1 for 58 of 10 as well. Gabriel was a bit costly. Gabriel, frankly, has had a very disappointing World Cup. And then Holder took 2 for 59, and then Fabian Allen took 1 for 44. When it came their turn to bat, Gale started off solidly, giving them a good start, making 35 or 48. But then the other openers, Ambrish and Hope, fell very cheaply. Hetmeyer made 29, and they both, that is Gale and Hetmeyer, got the total to about 71 when Gale was out. But Hetmeyer followed him shortly at total on 84. This brought together, let's say, the middle and the lower middle order, Puran and Holder, who took the score to 145 when Holder was dismissed for 26. But Puran kept one end going. So Brathwaite failed, but Fabian Allen kept, Puran company. And together, with the score from 199 for 6 to 282 for 7, they scored it in a very rapid rate as well in just under 10 overs, right? They were able to add 83 runs and take West Indies really close. But I think Fabian Allen got run out at a very inopportune time for a well-made 51. But Puran carried on and made 100, 118 of 103 balls. And well, with 3 overs remaining and 31 runs to get, and Puran still at the crease, the Sri Lankan skipper had a little bit of a conundrum home to bowl because, the spinner was going for a lot of runs. And he had to turn to one of the non-regulars because Malinga had already bowled out or was scheduled to bowl out his overs. As a result, he brought in Angelo Matthews. I think Angelo Matthews was interested with this task. And with his very first ball, Angelo Matthews dismissed Puran for 118, and that was that as far as the game was concerned. West Indies played out the remaining number of overs, and they fell 23 runs short. So if you look at the bowling stats, Malinga took 3 for 55 in his 10 overs. Dhananjaya De Silva did not take a wicket but considered just 49 in such a crucial game. And then Isuru Udana 67 in 10 overs, no wicket. Rajita, who came in place of Suranga Lakmal, who looked completely out of sorts earlier, took 1 for 76 of 10. Vandersay took 1 for 50, and then of course Matthews 1 for 6 of just 2 overs. So with this, Sri Lanka wrapped up another win, and as far as they are concerned, this was the third win, but it was not going to be enough to take them to the semi-finals. Avishka Fernando was adjudged as the man of the match. Well, there was a bit of pride there, and I think Sri Lanka did well. Still, the middle order problems for West Indies persist. Also, the openers, Ambrish and Hope, also couldn't do much. Even though Gale started, he couldn't carry on. There is a very nice article on Cricinfo that I would recommend to read by, I think, Fidel Fernando. And you can see how he explains Angelo bowled for the first time in 8 months, and he was as successful as all that. The next match we can take a look is the match number 40. Right, this was a bit of a needle match because it was between India and Bangladesh, and a lot was riding on India because they had previously lost the match to England, so they would have wanted to, comfortably seal the semi-final spot. So this was played in Edgbaston in Birmingham, and in this game, India won the toss and opted to bat first. Having opted to bat first, they made a solid start with openers Rahul and Rohit taking India to a very comfortable 180 within 30 overs. So India looked set for a big total here because Rahul made 77 and was out, and Rohit made 100 of just 92 balls. Rohit looked more comfortable in this match. Virat Kohli made 26, and then Rishabh Pant made a rapid 48 as well. Hardik Pandya for a change failed, but Dhoni made 35 of 33 balls. I think we can get into it at the end of this match. Karthik, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, and the rest tried to hit a little, and India finished with 314 for 9. So a bit of credit here to Bangladesh because they were able to hold India back. At one stage, India looked like 350 for a certain, but they held India back to just 314 for 9 in 50 overs. Mustafizur Rahman took 5 for 59, and then Shakib Al Hasan took 1 for 41. Mashrafe Murtaza was a bit costly, 5 overs, 36 runs, no wicket. Saifuddin also a bit costly, 7 overs, 59 runs, no wicket. Rubel Hussain took 1 wicket, considering 48 runs of his 8 overs, and then Soumya Sarkar took 1 wicket for 33 in 6 overs. So when it came their turn to bat, well, Bangladesh stood a chance because they have mounted a chase of 300 plus. In fact, they're the only team to have done that in this World Cup, and they started solidly. Tamim Iqbal made 22 before he was bowled by Shami, and Soumya Sarkar made 38, ball 33. Shakib Al Hasan made 66, also in even time, but the pressure kept mounting because of the run rate. Mushfiqur Rahim made 24 and Liton Das 22. Interestingly, Bangladesh chose to go into this match without Mahmudullah, and I think a bit of that was felt in this chase because Mosaddiq Hussain just made 3 and Sabbir Rahman and Mohammad Saifuddin took Bangladesh really close. Sabbir Rahman made 36 and Saifuddin 51 in very good time, but that was still not enough as Bangladesh were 286 all out in 48 overs. So when it comes to bowling, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, who came back into the 11, took 1 for 51 in his 9 overs. Jasprit Bumrah was the pick of the bowlers, taking 4 for 55 in 10 overs. Mohammad Shami was a bit costly again. I think he finds it a bit difficult when the batsmen go after him towards the end of the innings, and he took 1 for 68 in 9 overs. Yuzvendra Chahal was good, 1 for 50 in 10 overs, and then Hardik Pandya took 3 for 60 in 10 overs. So all in all, Indians did an admirable job defending the score, and Bangladesh, you can say, were very valiant but fell short of the target. So now, if you were to look at some of the discussion points, I think Dhoni got a lot of flack all over the social media because of how slow he was batting. But well, it looked like he was doing the job. What pricked a little was to see that sometimes he used to let balls go, sometimes he used to refuse singles. That was probably not on, given that all the time on the other end was also another established batter, right? Or maybe even Bhuvneshwar Kumar. That looked a bit weird. And when it comes to his intent, it looked like he was more intent on scoring rapidly. He was able to get some big shots off, and even though he, let's say, ate up a couple of balls towards the back end of the innings, he still finished with a strike rate of more than 100. So it seems like maybe some of this criticism that's been leveled at Dhoni is a bit unfair, but well, you can't expect that a player scores at a strike rate of 130 or 115 every match. Dhoni's not done very badly in this tournament, but it did look like he could have done a bit more here. That was also visible because this is carrying on from the England match where he again slowed down towards the end of the chase, which was uncharacteristic for him. But all in all, yeah, maybe there's a bit more Dhoni can do, but it can also be said that this great player could be coming to the end of his career. So I think we all will watch very carefully what he has to say at the end of this World Cup, whichever way the tournament finishes for India, right? Going further, also Bangladesh, I think if you look at how well they bowled, so in the last 20 and a half overs, they took 9 India wickets for just 134 runs. This was very good. And this included conceding just under 7 an over and taking 7 wickets in the last 11 and a half overs. So this was excellent bowling, all thanks to Shakib and Mustafizur Rahman there. So all in all, Bangladesh seemed to be one of the good teams going forward. And well, it looks like they were a bit short, just a bit short when it comes to finishing matches off. Otherwise, probably they would have stood a good chance to get through to the semi-finals. Their next match would be against Pakistan. So this is again another needle contest, and this is also more like bragging rights because both Bangladesh and Pakistan cannot qualify for the semi-finals. But nonetheless, they'll be looking to beat each other comfortably. Well, Pakistan technically has a mathematical chance, but it's very, very difficult. So I would say it's probably a match for bragging rights. Right. Now, if you go on to the next match, match number 41, this was played on 3rd of July in the Riverside ground at Chester Street again, right? This was also a very important match as far as England and New Zealand were concerned. New Zealand are on the way down. They were on a downward spiral by the looks of it because they started the tournament really well, but since then they have been losing the last couple of matches. So they would have wanted to win and book their place in the semi-final. But more importantly, as far as England are concerned, they needed to win to make sure Pakistan or any other team did not stand a chance. So in this game, England, well, they won the toss and they elected to bat first, so that went right for them. In this case, their openers did a wonderful job. Jason Roy again made a run ball 60, and Johnny Bairstow made a better than a run ball 100. So they set up the platform beautifully. So they gave them a start of 123 runs in just under 19 overs. So once this was done, Joe Root made 24, Butler failed, who was promoted off the order, but Owen Morgan made 42, and then the rest of the order kept chipping in to make sure England got to 305. Again, a lot of credit goes to the New Zealand bowlers because at one stage, given the sort of start they had, and maybe at 194 for one in exactly 30 overs, it looked very much like England could go on and make even a 400 maybe in this case with so many hitters to come. New Zealand pulled things back very nicely. So Mitchell Santner, who opened the bowling and just had 1 over, strangely, but took 1 for 65 in 10 overs. Trent Bolt took 2 for 56 in 10. Tim Southee started off very costly a couple of overs, but then he came back well and took 1 for 70 in 9 overs. Matt Henry took 2 for 54 in 10, and Jimmy Neesham took 2 for 41 in 10. So I would credit, let's say, pulling England back to a very large extent to Neesham and Henry here, and then towards the end to Trent Bolt. They were able to pull England back, and a total of 305 for 8 in 50 overs may have looked a bit less than what they would have wanted England, but they still had enough, I think, runs on the board, and that's how it proved. Because in the chase, New Zealand started very badly. They lost Henry Nicholls to the first ball he faced of Chris Wokes. It looked like he could have reviewed this, but I think he missed out on a review and he walked away. Martin Guptill failed again, scoring just 8. And then Kane Williamson and Ross Taylor got together, and they got together at 14 for 2, and they took the score to 61 when Kane Williamson was run out very unfortunately, with the bowler Marquee getting a finger on a straight dive from Ross Taylor and hitting the stumps on the non-strikers, and then Kane Williamson getting run out for 27. Shortly after that, Ross Taylor sort of got run out for 28. You could say this was not a well-judged run there on his part. This more or less meant that the chase was not going to be possible. But Tom Latham scored us 57 in good time, and Jimmy Neesham 19, Mitchell Santner 12. They tried to support him, but it was not going to be enough. So New Zealand were 186 all out in 45 overs. So this was in the end a very one-sided and a comfortable victory for England. So when it comes to bowling, Chris Wokes took 1 for 44. Jofra Archer, who did an excellent job with the new ball, took 1 for 17. Liam Plunkett also did a very good restrictive job, taking 1 for 28 of 8 overs. Mark Wood was one of the picks of the bowlers. He took 3 for 34 of 9 overs. Joe Root did a holding role in the middle, and then Adil Rashid and Ben Stokes each bowled 5 overs, taking 1 wicket. So all in all, the man of the match was Johnny Bairstow for his 100, but I think England will breathe a sigh of relief having sealed the semi-final spot. Right. So now it remains to be seen what happens in the matches on 6th of July, where Australia and India play their final league matches. Australia will take on South Africa, and India will take on Bangladesh. So these two matches will determine the final 4 positions and who will face whom in the semi-finals. So I think we'll all be very curiously looking forward to that. But before that, in tomorrow's match, we have Afghanistan taking on West Indies. Again, another match where both these teams have underperformed, and both these teams will want to go out of the tournament with a win on the high, right? So let's see if Chris Gale can sign off in style, or maybe Rashid Khan has the final say. So what has been brought to our notice is that Afghanistan have won 3 of the 5 matches, last 5 matches they played against West Indies, and one of those was even rained off. So you can say they hold the edge over West Indies going into this match, but one never knows because it's in neutral conditions. Maybe West Indies can come up with the goods here, right? Now, going forward, if we were to look at some of the news related to World Cup, so one of the main things is that Vijay Shankar of India has been ruled out due to a blow he received on the toes in the nets from Bumrah. As a result, Mayank Agarwal has been called up. So this was again another strange sort of a call, because I think by they I mean the Indian selectors have chosen Mayank Agarwal ahead of somebody like Rayudu, because I think he's more flexible. He can bat anywhere in the top of the order, and he's been chosen with one eye to the future rather than Rayudu, who's not he's only 33, but it looks like his time has come and gone. Promptly, Rayudu retired from international cricket after this because he sort of already made his mind that he'll only play limited overs cricket, and he's already retired from first class cricket last year. That meant probably his chances were very limited. As a result, he's chosen to retire from international cricket, and that seems a bit premature, but we wish Rayudu all the best going forward with his remainder of his career and maybe future as well. So the other World Cup news is that Sri Lanka and West Indies were fined massively in the game between each other. Even though it was a slow game or a low scoring game, they were very slow with the over rates. As a result, both the skippers have been fined 40% of their match fees, and each player has been fined 20% of his match fees. So this is a little unprecedented, but I think they were very slow with their over rates. This is unfortunate as well. Now, if you look at the other news from outside of World Cup, so the first ODI between Ireland and Zimbabwe took place on the 1st of July. So in this game, Ireland won comfortably, but this was held in the Brady Cricket Club in Northern Ireland. So Zimbabwe put up a decent score. So Ireland won the toss and opted to bowl, but Zimbabwe made a decent score and got to 254 in their 50 overs, thanks to 100 from Craig Irwin batting at number 3, and then 49 not out towards the end by Ryan Ball, the all-rounder. But it was not enough because Ireland was able to chase it down with another 100 from Andrew Balbirnie, the number 3 again. Paul Stirling made 57, and towards the end, Mark Adair, Shane Gitgate, and Lorcan Tucker, the keeper, made sure enough runs were scored, and they won with about 9 balls to spare. So there will be another match in this series, as we see, and then we'll have to see how Zimbabwe is able to come back and win the match and maybe square the series. So going forward, it looks like the tumult that is currently ongoing in the Zimbabwe board is not showing any signs of abating, because Zimbabwe have now pulled out of an Ireland women's tour, citing logistical and financial reasons. So this doesn't bode well for Zimbabwe cricket. We really hope they get over it quickly and some sort of a consensus is reached and the teams are allowed to tour again. Another important news: Dale Steyn, who is now currently recuperating from another injury in South Africa, has signed on as a marquee player for the Euro T20 competition. So if you remember, Euro T20 competition is 6 teams between Scotland, Ireland, and Netherlands, and with 2 teams from each countries, and all 3 countries hosting the matches. This will start in August, and we can all look forward to this competition because not only Steyn but many other players, including some bright names like Babar Azam, also some retired stars like Brendan McCullum, and all of these people have signed up. Even Martin Guptill has shown an interest we hear. So it's going to be very interesting, let's say, to see how this goes, and maybe this brings some much needed highlight also to some of the local players in each of these 3 countries. Now, if you move to the trivia section, the trivia question from the previous episode was, how many times have the last 3 wickets to fall in an innings in a World Cup game been to hat-tricks? So there was a slightly tricky component to this question because it was just the last 3 wickets to fall in an innings, not the last 3 wickets of the innings, or let's say when the team is all out. So we have found 5 such instances in this case. So it was Saklain Mushtaq against Zimbabwe in the ICC World Cup of 1999, the 7th Super League match, right, where he did this. Then Roj, again the 13th game of the 2011 World Cup against Netherlands. And then Stephen Finn, England versus Australia, the second match of Pool A in the 2015 World Cup. Shami did it in this World Cup, and then Bolt also did it in this World Cup. Shami against Afghanistan and Bolt against Australia. So there is one other instance. This is a slightly tricky one because Malinga also did it once, but this was 4 in 4, so it was more than a hat trick, and it was not the last wickets to fall in innings. So as a result, this can't be included. Yogesh got the answer right once again, even though he initially guessed 6 because he also had included Malingas. But outside of that, we got also answers saying 2 and 3 because people remember the latest ones, maybe Bolt, Shami, and Finn. But if you go back a little, you can also find there are other such instances. So thanks a lot for those that have been answering our questions, and we really hope that others who listen to these episodes can also take a guess at the answers or find out what the answers are. This will really give us a lot of encouragement, right? You could easily get in touch with us with all your thoughts and comments as well. So the trivia question for this week is, who is the only bowler to have taken 3 5-4s in a cricket World Cup or in cricket World Cups? Right. So if you've been paying a lot of attention to the recent matches, again, I think the answer becomes obvious. Just a little bit of digging will show you who the answer is. Right. You can get in touch with us to give us the answers on social media platforms, for example, Twitter at Armchair Cricket or via the Facebook page, or you can write into us at armchair.cricket@gmail.com. You could also leave a comment with your answer or your thoughts about what you've just heard in whichever podcasting app you use, like Apple Podcast, Podbean, any other, Castbox, any of these. So I hope you all do stay tuned in because we are reaching the summit of the World Cup, and more or less the 4 semi-finalists have been identified, but who plays whom yet remains to be seen. And now we are going to now probably see a new champion crowned, or maybe Australia or England or Australia or India might take the tournament. So let's see how it goes. All right. Having said all that, it's a goodbye from me and Giri. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast.